Hi everyone, you're listening to Restoration Station, the podcast of San Sebastian Basilica Conservation and Development Foundation Incorporated. We're the team behind the restoration of the all-metal church, San Sebastian Basilica in Quiapo, Manila. I'm Isabel, your virtual tour guide for today, and we're back with another Visita Baste series to bring the Basilica's tour to your homes. On our previous episode on Visita Baste, we highlighted the religious icons that our tour guests get to see inside San Sebastian Basilica. This time, we're focusing on the architectural elements that give character to this already unique building. We hope you get to see these elements for yourself when you get the chance. Visit us when it's safe, but for now, enjoy and remember to stay indoors. First up is one of the first things you'll see of San Sebastian Basilica, its twin spires. These twin spires are visible from almost all directions, and even from the train station on Legarda Street. They're so prominent in the skyline that in fact they used to be the tallest points in the city of Manila at the time of the basilica's construction, way back in 1891. But what are spires? Spires are the tall, pyramid-shaped tops of the twin towers, or steeples, that come straight up from the facade of the church. Spires are a common feature of neo-Gothic structures like San Sebastian Basilica, but spires in churches built in the neo-Gothic style symbolize religious authority. On our usual tours, visitors can actually climb up the bell towers to get a closer look at the spires from the belfry area right below it. Now, San Sebastian Basilica is unique because it's an all-metal building. The spires alone are actually made up of different metals: galvanized iron sheets for the roof, mild steel for the structural framing, and stainless steel for the crockets that have been replaced over time. Crockets are these spherical elements that you see on the spires. Surrounding San Sebastian Basilica's twin spires are these smaller, pyramid-like shapes called pinnacles. There are actually a total of 91 pinnacles in the basilica. They cap off our columns and our buttresses. Usually, in other Gothic and neo-Gothic structures, pinnacles are made of masonry and they serve to add weight to flying buttresses to further support the structure. But because the basilica is a hollow metal structure and it's unique in this way, the buttresses don't need pinnacles to weigh them down. In the case of our church, the mild steel and cast iron pinnacles just serve as caps to protect the hollow interiors from the elements. Now, in our usual tours, we like to make time to point out the decorative elements that give life to San Sebastian Basilica. As a neo-Gothic structure, there's a lot of ornamentation in both the interior and the exterior of the church, so it's easy to overlook these details in just one visit. For example, people normally miss the archivolts right above the doorways. Now, what are archivolts? So that next time when you're here, you can see them for yourself. Archivolts are a type of decorative molding on the face of an arch. Their shape follows the curve of the entrados, or the underside of an arch. There are 5 pairs of archivolts in San Sebastian Basilica above the front and side doorways of the church. All are made of cast iron and they're all hollow inside, just like the doors themselves. Our next architectural element is one of the most photographed features of the basilica. Look up from anywhere in the church and you'll see the rib vault ceiling, painted to look like stone. But what exactly is a rib vault ceiling? We know what a ceiling is. It's the uppermost part of any closed space. But what exactly is a rib vault ceiling? In technical terms, a rib vault describes a ceiling that has distinct and arched diagonal ribs. In less than technical terms, imagine that the whole ceiling system is a giant tent, like a circus tent that can fit hundreds of people. The tent has a high arch so that elephants and even trapeze artists can do their acts inside without hitting their head. The tent also has 2 basic components: the frame that you assemble first, then the canvas of the tent. A rib vault ceiling is kind of like that. One, it has a high arch, but instead of a frame, you have ribs. Instead of canvas, you have ceiling panels. A rib vault ceiling. Now, it takes its name from what it looks like. Other structures have different kinds of vault ceilings, like the stellar vault, which takes its name from the star-like shapes the frame makes, and the fan vault, which, Looks like a fan. Now, you might remember our previous episode on the religious icons you'll find in San Sebastian Basilica. The artists who painted these icons on the metal walls are the very same ones who painted the ceiling. They painted it with a faux jasper finish to give it a warmer green color. But in reality, the ceiling is actually made of two kinds of steel. Mild steel for the ceiling panels themselves or the canvas, and cast iron for the rib moldings or the frames. They're not made of stone. The last leg of this Visita Basta installment also happens to be one of the restoration team's priority areas, the stained glass windows. Standing at the center aisle of the basilica, you're surrounded left and right by these large works of glass art created by the German art studio of Anoy Oitman. Imagine to your left are the complete set of joyful mysteries, and to your right are the sorrowful mysteries, each one hand-painted in still vivid colors. Now, each of these stained glass windows is actually made up of a trinity of smaller lancet windows. Each trinity was pieced together to form glass canvases for the joyful and sorrowful mysteries of the Rosary. Each lancet window is made up of cast iron framing, cast iron mullions, lead joints, and of course the stained glass panels themselves. Now that's it for this episode of Visita Basta. In one quick virtual tour, we made a sweeping glance of some of the many architectural features that make San Sebastian Basilica a unique structure that our team is working very hard to restore. Do check out our other podcast episodes, and don't forget to follow us here on Spotify and on Facebook and Instagram at Save SS Basilica. While we're all staying indoors, we'll be bringing San Sebastian Basilica to you, so do watch out for that. Visit us when it's safe, but for now, enjoy and remember to stay indoors.